Back to Bashkim.
Okay.
His sections were so heartbreaking to read because he is just so conscientious and so worried about everything. He's just so worried, even though he never does anything wrong. And I just, reading it, we just can't help feeling sorry for him. And he does everything right, yet nothing goes his way.
Oh, that's
right?
true.
Isn't that kind of the way
he's not totally well.
He does. He just is someone who always follows the rules, and he has these two. I don't want to give too much away, but he has two tragedies follow back to back.
Yeah, he does.
I mean, that's the whole crux of the novel, and he just. When I read it, I just felt like he was someone I was always supposed to be watching over. Like I was babysitting him. And I was just worried sick about him the whole time. And it just killed me.
Right.
You know, I mean,
well,
and he just is this kid that just, you worry about the whole time you're reading about him.
Yeah, I definitely thought that a little boy in his situation, an immigrant child, sort of trouble at home, the oldest child, that's pretty classic
Even
stuff.
before the plot thickens.
Even before the plot thickens, he at 8 years old, he's already navigating that he's a full American and his parents are not. And I just saw him, I saw someone, a smart little, caring little boy in his situation would be trying so hard to keep everything going and keep it from erupting.
I want to ask you about him, something very specific, because he's so good. I just wondered if you even had an inkling in an earlier draft to give him just a naughty moment, something to fly him up a little bit.
Well, when you say this, I'm thinking I should have given him a naughty moment. I didn't see him as so good. I saw him as so. This is how I saw him.
He's so afraid to do bad though. He won't even step outside the lines of the crossing when he's crossing the street because he's afraid of the crossing guard.
Well, he reads his book and the crossing guard.
But he's so afraid of it though. He's petrified.
But he's not afraid to make. He's not. I don't see him as a child who's afraid just because it would be wrong.
He's afraid to get in trouble.
Yeah. Well, he's afraid to have his parents come into the school system.
Oh, yeah, true. Yeah.
And so that is a real fear for him. And so I see him as he has a real thing that he's a real beast that he's keeping back at the door.
It's a very interesting distinction.
Yeah, so I don't think he's just a little boy who just absolutely can't do it. I didn't see him that way.
No.
Can't do anything wrong. That's not. I saw him as a boy who has this really big adult-sized problem that he's got to deal with. And the other thing, the way I see Bashkim is, and I think this is true for a lot of kids, the world sees a little boy, but that little boy sees a full actor in the world. And I think he saw himself as somebody just like his teacher or his parent or anybody else. He knew what was supposed to be done and he tried to get it done. And the fact that he has so little power as an 8-year-old to do that. And I guess I just think that happens and that a lot of pretty young children deal with pretty big issues, and if you are a certain temperament and of a certain ability, maybe that's a big burden because you in fact do not have very much power in this world.
He didn't have much power, but he had so much responsibility, it seemed.
Yeah, or he felt he did.
It seemed that he did, because he had to keep so much of his family's secrets. He had to make sure the school didn't know about so many things. And we know that right at the beginning about him. Right at the very beginning, we get such a good sense of his character. So yeah, that's why we really know right from the beginning we're on his side. Yeah. Well, you said in an interview you related the most to him. And do you remember saying that?
I remember I don't think I said I related the most to him. I think I said
you understood him the most maybe?
No, I think I was addressing the question of was I like Avis or was I like Alberta?
Oh, okay.
And I think because I'm a middle-aged woman and those are middle-aged women
they
characters.
Just jump to that conclusion.
Yeah, people jump to all sorts of conclusions, even people who know me very well, and I think, really? I just wrote that.
And writers get that often because they presume if you write fiction, you're automatically like your character who shares your gender and age.
Yeah.
Automatically, and they'll even ask you questions.
And
Say,
even when
in
they
the part
know-
where you did this, say,
Yeah.
no, not me, this character.
Yeah.
It happens all the time.
It
Such a
happens all the
rookie
time.
mistake, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure I even do it as a reader. It's
You
just
know,
like very uncomfortable as a writer.
Happens to the best of us.
Yeah, definitely. I think what I said was that from a position of temperament, I identified with Luis, and I identified with Luis's situation. So Luis is a really very young person, and we send very young people off to war in this country all the time, and then they manage these incredibly powerful, violent weapons in chaotic situations. And they just, they come out of high school, they go to homecoming, and then they go off with these very powerful weapons in very dramatic, not well orchestrated, clean, if such a thing ever existed, war situations.
And he's dealing with that.
And they have to deal with that. And Luis has done something that he never meant to do, and that he can't believe he did, and that he can't take back. And he's young, and he can't imagine how he goes forward from that moment. And I identified with that. I mean, I identified with that that sense that you could have made a mistake, and there can be small mistakes can have huge consequences. That's a cruel thing about the world. And other people can make huge mistakes, and there's hardly a consequence for it. And there's no fairness in that. But it's a hard thing to live through.
We kind of feel the way he suffers because we spend a lot of time in writers have all kinds of ways to access their characters, inward states of mind. But this one is so precise. I wanted to ask if you had sort of some special way to access it. It's very personal, I know, to ask this, but he's so he has this way of thinking. Was there some way you accessed that, or did it just come from this imaginary place?
Well, everything comes from both.
Yeah.
From an imaginary place and a real place.
And I know
I'm
tiptoeing
probably
around
Freddie
this, which is,
Yeah.
I mean, all writers have some sort of moodiness, so I don't know if I need to tiptoe
I can be
around
moody.
this, because writers and artists are sort of known for this, actors too.
I think with Luis, I did identify with his situation. I did, I was a young person. I lived through things that were painful and devastating, and I don't know if I was hard on myself or not hard enough. I'll never know, right? But certainly I was hard on myself at times, and so that maybe comes from some personal place. I was also really imagining, I was trying to understand the experience of trauma, and I was reading on these like soldier blogs and just little bits of things that you pick up and read about PTSD and the way that people describe having a rush of feelings before they have any part of the conscious mind to go with it. Like they'll get the rush of adrenaline or the rush of panic or the rush of fear. It wasn't very hard to access how that might feel. So I don't think I could tease out what melange was my own or somebody else's. I'm not suffering as Luis is now.
Well, his suffering is
so,
so severe, and or it was, when we first meet him. And that's the wonderful thing about following through the book. There's this hope that just emerges that you just don't expect to be there.
Because he gets great help.
Yeah. That's the great thing about it. Yeah.
I thought Dr. Ghosh was, I don't know a lot about counseling and psychotherapy and all of that. I know a little bit, and I know what people tell me about it, and so maybe I borrowed extensively from what people have told me on that, but I guess the idea that there are methods and processes that can help someone who's stuck, like Luis is.
Yeah.
And that Dr. Ghosh just gives him a little bit, and then he can take it, But had there been nobody to give him a little bit, just once in a while a break, I don't know what happens to him.
Because he does seem like someone who gets just the right help when he needs it. It's almost
yeah,
like
what is a novel? So
you know?
it would go on forever if we had to go through all the.
But he's so easy to sympathize with, because you just, he's like Bashkim. You just see him going through this hard time, and he starts out as someone you just wouldn't think you would sympathize with because he starts out doing something horrible. So
Yeah.
yeah. So anyway, let's.